first month of Zoloft or any SSRI is very tough. It's what kept me from being on an SSRI for a very long time. That first month, I would get terrible side effects. I'd have them all. I'd have headaches. I'd have nausea. I couldn't eat. I'd sleep all day. A lot of times my anxiety would be even worse. My depression would get even worse. And I see a lot of people on message boards talking about this, how they're struggling after like a week or 2 weeks. And that was me. I struggled for a very long time trying to get on a medication. And I would always go, this is ridiculous. Isn't right. I shouldn't be taking this medication if it's doing this to me. And it wasn't until I changed my habits and did a couple things that those symptoms lessened and the medication started working. So I wanted to just kind of go through some of those early days things and how I was able to deal with them. That first week, sometimes it all depends how bad your life is when you start, I think, because I've started a few times. And when my life was completely and totally terrible, and I started the medication, it was really hard for me. I'd get really bad anxiety and really bad depression because my life was already so bad, plus the depression making me feel worse, made it even worse, right? I was already at my breaking point, and the medication almost put me past my breaking point. I've been 51-50'd, I've been 52-50'd. I've been in mental institutions. It's okay. I needed it at the time. I don't feel that way anymore, but at the time it was definitely necessary for me. So I've been pretty far into depression and anxiety, about as far as you can go. And I don't feel that way at all. It's so hard for me to explain how close to like just not making it I was, and how I feel so opposite these days. That first week, I always suggest to people, maybe make your life a little bit better if you can before starting the medication, because it's gonna make you feel worse in some ways, most likely. Some people it doesn't, but most likely it's gonna make you feel a little worse. So I don't start it when my life's completely terrible. I start it when I feel like it's going that way, and then or if I'm coming out of it a little bit. That's when I started this last session, and it's been the best one. That first week, you're gonna feel anxious, you're gonna feel dizzy, you're gonna feel tired all the time. You might have worse anxiety, you might have worse depression. Those are temporary. For me, they were temporary. I have to say for me, legally, I think. So I'm just gonna say for me, but every time I've done it, it's been the same thing. So it's really hard. I always suggest taking some time off work if you can. And one thing that will happen is you'll go up and down more. Like I would feel highs at some points. I'd feel almost high, like I was like tripping or something, and I felt euphoric. I felt amazing. And I was like, this is the best medication ever. I can't believe everybody's not on this. And then the next day, I wouldn't feel anything, or I'd feel bad again. And it would come and go at random. Sometimes when I would take it immediately, I'd get relief. And then sometimes I'd take it and I wouldn't get relief. It was just so hard to adjust and understand what was happening. So that first month was like that. And I will say it gets better. And it could be over a month, After a month, it really just stopped the bad stuff. The good stuff never really took place until I think around 2 months is when it started for me. So getting through those side effects is goal number one. Just understand that it probably will take a month for them to start to lessen. And after a month, they lessen, but they don't go away. They still kind of come and go, but they get less frequent. I had sexual side effects. I had every side effect you've looked up, I've had. And now I have hints of all these side effects, but nothing like they were. And all of them have become manageable. And some of them I actually enjoy. It's crazy. So that first couple days, you might not feel it after the first couple of days. You might not feel bad. You might think, maybe I'm not going to have side effects. And that's okay. And maybe you won't. I've heard of some people not having them, but for me, I could take it for a few days before the side effects kicked in. It wasn't until like 5 or 6 days that the side effects kicked in. So if they suddenly start, don't be scared. It's kind of normal. And then, yeah, you're just gonna have to get comfort foods. Get comfort things that are, plan on being sick. You're basically sick, right? What do you do when you're sick? You don't do all the stuff you do when you're normal. So just treat it like you're sick. Eat the food you want, watch TV, play video games, because that might be all you're able to do. You might not be able to get out of bed. If you can go to the gym, if you can go to yoga, definitely do those things. But I was just so messed up. I had no motivation to do any of those self-care things. So I had to just survive. I treat it as being in survival mode. I'm in survival mode right now. And all I have to do is survive the next 24 hours without messing it up, right? Without doing anything drastic. Don't do anything drastic. Don't do any major things. Don't make any major decisions. Don't have any major conversations. Just cut all that stuff off. You're in a waiting period. You're just waiting for this medication to kick in. And then you can start addressing all the things in your life. So towards the end of the first week, I think the side effects started ramping up. I started getting more headaches, and just a lot of worry that it wasn't going to work. A lot of worry about my life and my situation, that it's over, that I messed it up, and I'm never going to be able to fix all these problems. A lot of worry about my interpersonal relationships, and nobody's ever going to love me. If I'm mentally messed up, if I have addiction issues, I have all these problems, financial issues, who could ever love me? So I'm going to be alone forever, was the conclusion I made. And just catastrophic thinking, right? It's all a catastrophe. Every warning I would take to the end of the road and see the catastrophe that could come out of it, and I would say that's going to happen. Well, that's just a feeling. That's not reality. That's not necessarily going to happen, and probably won't, because that's like if you did nothing and everything got worse and you only did the worst things. But you'll catch yourself along the way, and you'll make your life better. And once you tackle a couple of these issues, you don't have that anxiety and that fear. And then your life is like I still have a lot of those same problems, but I don't even think about them really. Like, I know somebody could love me. I know I could love somebody. It might not be how I thought it was going to look. And another thing is I'm happy being by myself. I'm happy who I am. I love my life. I think it's great. I honestly wouldn't trade it. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but I like my life. I think it's great. I have a lot of freedom. Yeah. So those worries tend to go away. So second week, I mean, again, you're just surviving. You're probably going to have ups and downs. You may start to have little peeks into the window of what the future may hold. So you might have little peeks into like days where you have good days and you think, oh, I feel good today. Or why am I talking to this person more than I normally would? Or why am I more interested in people than I normally am? I would have that. I'd have these feelings of almost euphoria and feelings of wanting to talk to people, be way more extroverted than I normally am. I would think, man, the medication's working. This is it. It's working. It's finally kicked in. Well, it doesn't really kick in all at once like that. It would kick in for that day or a few hours, and then the next day it wouldn't do that. And I was like, oh, it's not working. It's not this magic pill that I thought it was. And then it wouldn't do it for a few days, and I would just be like, back to, I feel like I'm starting over. And that's just your body adjusting, your brain adjusting. It doesn't really know how to handle it yet. It doesn't really know it's keeping a ton of serotonin in there, and then it drops out, and then you don't have any. It's a reuptake inhibitor, right? So the reuptake of serotonin is delayed, so it stays in your brain longer. But it's not a serotonin producer. You still have to do things that produce serotonin. And what produces serotonin is doing things like talking to other people, talking to friends, doing the next right thing in your life, making amends to people you've had bad relationships with, just things that produce bonding will produce serotonin. And now that the serotonin's been produced, the medication helps it stay in your brain longer. So I think that's a misconception, is that it's going to produce more serotonin. It won't necessarily produce it, but when you do produce it, it'll help it stay longer. That's what it's felt like for me. I still do things that produce it, and I feel like it just is easily, even little things will help me maintain a feeling of well-being, even though they're not big things, because I produced a little bit of serotonin, maybe, and it stays in my brain longer. I'm pretty sure that's how I think of it working. So second week, again, you're in survival mode. You might have little peaks. Don't be scared. You're still gonna have side effects. What I learned is to drink tons of water, because you're gonna be dehydrated. Don't clench your jaw, because that causes headaches. So consciously try not to clench your jaw. You're gonna sleep. Just allow for that. You're gonna probably have sexual side effects where things aren't working. Don't worry about that. For me, that almost all went away eventually. And I'm trying to think what else. Put any other side effects you want to know about in the comments, and I'll address them. I can't remember all the other ones I had. But foggy thinking. My foggy thinking it's not disappeared, but it's drastically decreased. I can think again. And it's almost like there's a block on the negative. Like I don't remember the things I used to sit in my bed and obsess over and be living in anxiety and constantly thinking about. I don't really think about them at all. Like I may even think about them like they're a fact, or like a thing that I used to do, but I don't feel it. I don't feel that anxiety from those situations. I feel like things are going to be okay. None of those problems are things that can't be addressed. They're all things that can be solved and I can work on and fix. They're no longer this thing that's life, my life is ruined. It's like, no, it's not. It's fine. So then after like maybe the third-ish week for me, a lot of the side effects started kind of coming and going. They weren't as constant. And the good moods came and went. They maybe a little bit more. So you're still in this flux, and just had to stick it out. A big thing for me is changing the dose always causes the side effects to ramp back up. And that's why I start at 100 milligrams, because that's where I want to be at. I don't want to do 25, then 50, then 100, because for me, it just starts the side effects. They don't last as long, but they'll last like 3 days or so, or 4 days. And I don't want to deal with that. I just want to be on the dose I'm going to be on. And that way, when I'm at 4 weeks, I know I'm at 4 weeks at that dose. I don't have to be like, well, I'm 2 weeks on this and 2 weeks on that. And it's like, so your body doesn't, I don't really know the timeline for that as well. But if I just start at one dose, I know the timeline. So third week, the side effects may go down, but your mood may not necessarily improve. You might feel kind of numb. And it's just adjusting. And I was like, is this what it is? Because if this is what it is, it just feels like everything's been dampened. I don't have the goods, or I don't have the bads, but I don't have the goods, right? I don't have the bad moods, but I don't have the good moods. So is this even really worth it? Fourth week, kind of the same, honestly. It was just like, is this what it is, And then fifth and sixth, I say, and seventh and eighth weeks are when it was like, that's weird. Normally this would have bothered me and it's not bothering me. Or normally I wouldn't have handled that situation. I would have got upset, or I would have blown up, and I didn't. It's just little things you start to notice. So you go, oh, that's weird. I haven't been depressed in like 3 days. I haven't felt anxious all day today. It's not this drastic change. It's just like little things you start to notice. You're like, that's weird. I wonder if that's the medication. And it's kind of a subtle thing that starts happening. And what happens is over the next couple months, those subtle things start to grow a little bit more. And you start to notice more of them. All of a sudden, I'm not as nervous about singing in public. You know, I'll sing at work, whereas before I would be so anxious to sing in front of people. I'll say things that I may not have said before. I'll stick up for myself more. I won't blow up on people in anger as easily. Like I'll just understand that they're just coming from their viewpoint, you know, and it's okay to disagree. We can agree to disagree. That's okay. I won't feel guilt as much. I won't feel guilt for cutting family members out that I haven't talked to, that was such a chore to talk to before. That was like, oh, this person that I have to, you know, the right thing to do is to keep up with my family and talk to them. But there's certain people that I don't do that to anymore, and I don't feel bad. Whereas before I'd feel guilty. I don't feel guilty because that person's not good for me. It's not, and that's not my fault. It's not my fault if this person affects me in this way. They're free to change. They're free to change how they want to act, and I'd be happy to meet them halfway, but I'm not interested in feeling guilty anymore, and that's okay, right? That's a boundary. So you'll stick up for yourself a little more, and so all these little things will start happening. You'll go to the gym more. Like I'm more motivated to go to the gym, and I feel even better when I go to the gym. I feel like it like amps everything up, and I feel even better than I normally would. You know, food tastes better. It's so weird, but food tastes better. Colors are more interesting, and it's just very slight, but I think that's why, like with the food, I think that's why some people gain weight on this, is because I noticed it too. Is like at first it made me not hungry at all and I lost weight, but then once it started working, I could just like appreciate the food so much more, and like the texture and the taste and the smell. And I wanted to try all these foods that normally I would just eat and be like, yeah, it's good. But now I'm like thinking about the salt content, and I'm like, oh, it's salty, it's sweet. It's the texture of it. You just feel things more. You're more sensitive to those types of sensations, I think. Touch feels better, just slightly better than it used to. It's so interesting. So that's kind of been my path, going from nothing to where I'm at today. I'm at 4.5 months, I think, on 100 milligrams, and the fourth month has given me things that third month didn't. You know, I feel like every month has been getting better. It's been easier not to drink and use drugs. It's been easier to be content in my situation. It's easier to try to change grow out my hair and try to change my hairstyle, whereas before I would like talk myself out of it. It's easier to make these videos. I'm not shy when I make these videos like I was. I don't care about what people think as much. I just want to put this stuff out, whereas before I'd rewatch it and like be like, oh, I'm such an idiot. I hate the way I sound. Why am I doing that? Why am I sitting like that? I was much more self-critical, whereas now I don't even rewatch things. I just film it once and put it up. Don't write anything out. Just say what I'm thinking, and I'm okay with that. So it just gives me a little bit more security, and it gives me a little bit more security in choosing the right opportunities for me, right? Like letting things go that maybe I would have grasped that before, like if like relationship wise, just because somebody likes me doesn't mean I have to like them back, you know, like or just because somebody's nice to me doesn't mean I have to like them. Like there's a lot of people at work that are nice to your face, but like I don't really care for how they act, and so I'm not nice to them. I'm not mean, but I just am indifferent, and that's okay, because I don't want this person in my life. I don't want to be friends, and that's okay. But I don't want to be mean either, but I don't particularly care for this person, so I'm not going to fake it. Sorry. And I'm okay with that. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, you have to have manners, you have to, you know, it's okay. I try to see things from their perspective, and I still do that. But if there's been enough opportunities for them to show me who they are and I don't like it, then it's like, all right, I'm done. Yeah, so I don't know. I was just kind of something I've seen in message boards a lot is the beginning stuff and people struggling in that first month or two. And for me, all that went away and everything's been great. I have other videos on my channel for each month. Feel free to check out. All right. Thanks for listening, and throw me a comment. All right. See ya.